presentation over the science of reading. So the science of reading is just the basic study, evidence-based reading instruction. This is how we learn to read. And reading doesn't come natural to anyone. We have to learn how to do this. Unlike speaking, we can all speak naturally. It's not something that we have to learn. There are 4 areas in the brain for the science of reading that help us process this language. One of them is phonological processing. We have sound symbol connection. We have word meaning, and we also have letter and word recognition, which we refer to as orthographical processor. And then I want to talk about the simple view of reading. We have decoding. Decoding breaks down into phonics, which is just our simple letters, and then it breaks down into phonological awareness and phonemic awareness. Then we have language comprehension, which breaks down into our vocabulary that we have to recall from our memory. And then we have text comprehension, which is the comprehension that we have to be able to use from our vocabulary. When we put decoding and language comprehension together, we get a reading comprehension. We get a skilled reader, which is what we all want our kids to be. So we have 5 major components of the science of reading. We have phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and the last one we'll wrap up with is comprehension. So phonological awareness is the first one that I want to talk about. It's just the ability to be able to identify or notice the sound in spoken words. Phonological awareness is completely all sounds. It's nothing else. We can turn the lights out, close our eyes, put our head down, nothing but our ears and just listening, and we'll be able to do anything phonological. So phonological is broken down into words, symbols, onset rhyme, and rhyming phonemes. So these things kind of reflect to our 4-part processor. When we have a word that may have different meanings. For example, fit. We have fit. We may have someone throwing a fit like our children may do. We may be trying to fit in somewhere or fit in our clothes, or we may be fit as in healthy. So there are different kinds of meanings to certain words. So we have to reflect back to this 4-part processor to be able, our brain to be able to recognize which one that we are specifically talking about. So this is where I want to go into phonemic task. There are different phonemic tasks, and again, this is all just sounds, nothing else but sounds. So in this one, identification, we can say, okay, so the same sound that we hear in these 3 words, bat, bug, box, we hear the B sound. Isolation is where we're isolating one certain sound. It can be at the beginning, at the end. I had an example. What is the first sound you hear in cat? So that's where we're isolating. Blending is when we have for my kids, I do kindergarten, so we have 3 decodable words, so 3 letters. So we have those 3 letters and we're putting them together to blend our word, and we're blending those sounds together to be able to make the word. Segmenting is the complete opposite. We are taking those sounds away and chopping those specific sounds. What do we hear in this word? We hear at and cat. Those are the 3 sounds we hear, so we segmented that. Addition, deletion, and substitution. This is where what we call the manipulation. These are the most skillful ones. We have to be able to do the others to be able to do these. Addition, we're just simply adding. We have the word at, and we're adding k to the beginning. We have cat. Deletion may be the same thing. We have cat, and we're taking away k. And again, this can be done beginning, middle, or end sound. It doesn't have to be specifically the beginning. And then substitution, we're taking away the beginning, middle, or end sound, and we're replacing it with a different sound to be able to substitute that letter. And then they're being able to tell us what the new word is that we have. Now I want to go into phonics and talk a little bit about phonics. Phonics is specifically the letter and the sound. It's nothing more, not blending, not anything but the letter and the sound. There are 7 phonics terms: grapheme, consonant, consonant digraph, consonant blend, vowel, syllable, orthography. Grapheme is just our simple letter and groups of letters that represent just one specific sound. Then we have consonant and vowel, which are consonants closed, vowels open. Consonant digraph is where we have 2 letters that represent one sound. We have a consonant blend where we have two 2 or 3 separate consonants, the phonemes that we're blending together. And then we have syllable, which we are breaking down into single vowel sounds. And then the last one we have orthography, is just our specific alphabet, our written system. And then we have, to be able to read, we must have the input from phonologic, orthographic, cinematic, syntactic, and etymology language systems. And then we go into fluency. Fluency is just specifically the ability to read, how fast that we can read. There's different ways that we can assess these. What my school does is DIBELS, and the ones that did not pass the first time, we're having to do progress monitoring on them to get them to the level if they need to be. We're closing in that gap. And this is, we're bringing back the 4-part processor where fluency is coming in and it's connecting everything together. Once everything's connected, we become fluent. The more we read, the more fluent we become. Readers can be fast and right, which is definitely what we want. They can be fast and wrong. Just because you're fast doesn't mean that you're going to be correct. We have to have that comprehension. And slow and right, it's okay to be slow. The more we read, the more fast and fluent that we'll be. And slow and wrong, they're just not getting it. We need to practice more and more. The more we practice, we just have to stoop down to lower things to be able to get that in there. And the key to fluency is orthographic mapping. And orthographic mapping is simply just it's bringing this phonemic awareness and phoneme graphemes together to store these sight words in our head, in our brains. And some of these skills that we have to have for the orthographic mapping is letter sound. It's just automatic letter sound recognition of consonant, vowels, blends, and our digraphs. Then we have phonemic awareness. It's just automatic with our advanced levels. And then the last one, we have word study, which is just specifically us being able to hear a word and know what it is, or see a word and know what it is, and want us not have to think about it. It's natural. And then we go into vocabulary. Vocabulary is exactly what it sounds. We just have to know the meaning of a word, words that we use in everyday communication. These are a little bit higher. A lot of our lower students, or the ones that do not have background knowledge, are not going to have this vocabulary that they need. And like morphology, it goes in with vocabulary. It's just specifically the meaning, the smallest meaning of the word. Some words we can't break down, like finger. It has one meaning. We can't take the off of it, and because fing is not our word. Finger is the smallest unit of that word. There's other words that we can break down and take off the ending and such and get the meaning of the word, and we just have to use the ending to understand what it's specifically talking about. So in our classrooms, we must have a rich language environment. If we do not have that, then our kids are not getting that background knowledge, picking up any new vocabulary. We have to be able to use that to pick it up. When students speak more, they can say, I noticed this, and elaborate on it, or I'm wondering this, or the idea I have is this, or like we can help them by waiting and letting them speak, or maybe extending on what they are already telling us. We can pause in the middle of our sentences and maybe let them try to finish our sentence just to get them interactive with us, and confirming and letting them know that they are correct when they give us specific information. And lastly, that I want to wrap up with is comprehension. So comprehension is specifically the ability to understand the meaning of words. When we read something, we comprehend. We know what it means. We don't have to think about it. We automatically know. We'll get to the point where we're automatic, but we're comprehending and we're knowing what things mean. Real quickly, I want to talk about the Scarborough's rope, because this is comprehension. This is where we're tying everything together. The strands are loose to begin with, and they are slowly tightening up. When they become at that tightening point, we are a skilled reader. We have all of those things that we need to be a skilled reader. We've got the decoding down, and we've got the language comprehension down. When we've got all of that and all the small things underneath those, then we are a skilled reader. So this is my presentation for the Science of Reading. I hope you liked, and those are my references. Thank you.